You good?
Hey, Kyle. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Very well. Thanks for joining us. We're just general chatting before we officially start the space, but just waiting for a few people to join in. But really appreciate you coming on.
No worries. I'm
sharing what's going on.
Now. Give me 1 second. I'm going to write a tweet.
Nice.
Post it out. Make sure.
Nice. Fantastic. Listen, I've pinned up one of your security token market tweets. I hope that's okay, that one there. If there's another one that you want to pin up, please put it up.
Oh, no. Whatever you like best.
Fantastic.
And remind me, what's your Twitter handle?
It's at BRIK BC.
Spell it for me.
BRIK BC.
BC. I got you covered.
Keeping the girls very active in terms of all the NFTs and DAOs. That's created some additional activity for these guys, which I obviously will talk about later, but that's fantastic.
Hell yeah, they do such a good job with that show, and we're excited that the reception's been really strong, so that's always fun. I think I'm proud to be a part of what has really become a pretty cool movement.
Absolutely. And I hope you don't mind me giving you the Aussie nickname. Token Kookaburra.
I had to look up what a kookaburra was, to be honest, but I love it. I'm here for it.
I was trying. I don't know if you saw yesterday's my BRIK walks that I do here at Noosa. I was trying to. I could hear them. I could hear the kookaburras, and I was trying to spot them up in a tree by walk to share with you, but couldn't quite find one.
Did you like the video I sent you? Me and Erling at the bar, and we pulled up, and everyone on Google, it was like, see this in your world. We were like, all right, let's do it.
That was so funny. It was actually when I opened it up, and I was in tears. Just like that. It was fantastic. I did share that actually in terms of obviously that you coming along. I did share that. It was fantastic. Actually, I think I did tell you that all our token property series that for the BRIK BC. So BRIK is obviously starts. So BRIK Koala is our current one, but we've actually there is a BRIK Kookaburra coming up, and Herwig, as I labelled him as the token Roo. So we have got a BRIK Roo coming up next, actually. So, it's a bit of fun. You got to have a bit of fun, and we've got a few people joining it. Probably just give it a couple more minutes, just to sort of maximise, so allow people to sort themselves out. But yeah, you have to have a bit of fun, Kyle. And these guys have a lot of fun, which always puts a smile on my face in some of the content these guys do. And keep it up, guys.
For sure. Yeah, no, I love to keep it fun, and I'm just passionate about blockchain, about crypto, about investing, about securities. I really love everything. I'm pretty comfortable talking about whatever you want to talk about. Nice. I can certainly start with a background for anybody that doesn't know me, if you'd like. Whatever's easiest to let me know.
Yeah. We'll start the formalities, so we'll get to do that when we start the formalities all. But okay, that'd be great. As I said, you have to have a bit of fun, and again, just adds another dimension. And as people get on their journey, although it can be serious, obviously from a wealth perspective, but I think you need to also have a bit of fun at the same time. World's too serious, especially at the moment. I think adding these layers of fun activity, I think, just helps people's day and as you get on the journey. So,
totally agree.
But it's this time, mate, you're in the hot seat. You're usually doing the interviewing, but this time we're switching it on you. So, but look, we'll make a start, and so I'll just start by saying that I'm Luis Miguel Aleixo, fondly referred to as BRIK. So I'm the managing director for all BRIK BC projects, and we tokenise Australian property. Got my co-host Jake, who also has got his platform that they do be tokenising real estate property as well. They're out of Chicago, which he'll give a bit of spill about him as well. And we've also got Kyle. Kyle's our special guest today. Kyle's on from STOmarket, so I'll get him to do a bit of a spill as well in terms of a bit of background of what he's up to. But yeah, today's session, before I jump, throw it over to Jake and Kyle, today's session, as we all do this weekly, is about educating people, making people aware what is real estate tokenization. Obviously, we're very early in terms of what's happening in our industry. This is about to educate and make you aware in terms of what the new frontier is of real estate, and how can people actually see and get involved and see that as part of their future in terms of adding to their existing traditional real estate portfolio, but now actually diversifying into a tokenized real estate properties. So, Jake, you just want to just sort of a bit about you, just a bit of background, and so people know who you are.
You said me, right?
Yeah, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here today. For anyone that doesn't know me, I am Jake Menard. I'm a property manager for Dwell Homes, Inc. We are located in Illinois, which is in the U.S., in case you're not from around here. We are looking to tokenize rental properties here in Illinois. And what that really means is we're going to be hopefully offering fractional ownership of these rental properties and be able to basically offer, dividends or shared profits of the rental homes that Dwell Homes is going to be offering. So the real reason that we're going this route rather than traditionally just owning these properties by ourselves is because we believe that real estate should have more liquidity options than is currently available. And we believe that with these rental properties that we're going to be offering to the masses is really going to help, speed up the adoption of property tokens and fractional real estate ownership.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jake. Kyle, as our special guest today, a bit about you and in terms of your background and what you're doing, and then later after I'll throw some deep questions here to answer. But at the moment, just a bit of an overview in terms of who you are, what you're doing, and what problem you're trying to solve at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Kyle Sonlin. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I moved to Miami about 8 years ago, and I've been in South Florida ever since, and quite frankly don't have any plans to leave for anywhere else. I'm an investor. That was my background. It was in the public and private markets, as well as I was really deep into the artificial intelligence space, really with theory more than anything. I'm not necessarily a developer myself, but I know a lot about the theoretical perspectives behind some of this stuff. And so in my journey with artificial intelligence, when you have multiple systems that need to make a decision and they don't have the right path that's clear, they need to have a consensus mechanism. They need to actually figure out how to have distributed or decentralized consensus in order to make a decision, which for anybody that knows blockchain, it sounds a whole lot like blockchain, doesn't it? So basically, I got brought into the blockchain space through my interest in that, as well as from an investment perspective. But I think that most investors in crypto don't actually get involved on the operational side. So I feel like sometimes it's important to say both. And since I was an investor in the public markets and I learned about how blockchains worked, it obviously made a ton of sense to me that you would take real world assets and apply the same technology that we have for crypto, but for real securities. And so security tokens were born back in 2017. My co-founder, Herwig, was consulting on one of the first security token offerings, which back in the day didn't quite make it to market, but that did not stop him from giving it his best shot as a consultant. And in that process, I was connected to him, and he kind of helped me open my eyes to the whole thing. Fast forward, we raised some money together and launched a security token market, STOmarket.com, which is the largest resource to do research on security token offerings. We track a ton of data from brokers, from exchanges, from marketplaces around the world. We source blockchain-based information straight from block explorers, and we triangulate all of that information with reference level data around where these assets are registered from an international jurisdictional perspective to be able to give you information and reports and analysis around how these compliant crypto assets are moving. So these are tokenized assets, investments in the space. We've got about $4.2 billion worth of assets we currently track. I know that there's a whole lot more. We're working on it. We've hired on multiple software developers recently who've helped us take our data to the next level. Most of it actually has been happening behind the scenes, so nobody knows about it, but we've got a lot of front-end redesign plans that are actually already in the works that will be coming out soon. So that's a little bit of a background on me. We do a whole lot in the blockchain space. I know a little bit about almost everything, and I look forward to being here today. Anybody that's got questions, literally ask me whatever you'd like. I can't wait to join.
It's fantastic, Kyle. It's just as a thing, as a point there, you guys are one of our leading in terms of when I'm doing research, and very 2 years ago, and continue to do so. Is always a great reference point in terms of any research around blockchain, tokenized assets. Obviously, today we're focusing purely on the real estate side of things, but obviously, when we start talking, you guys cover it. Obviously, anything that's tokenized, any asset that's tokenized, you guys cover that, which is fantastic. So today we sort of narrowed down to the real estate tokenization. We sort of see what's up in that space.
Did you get our real estate report, by the way?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Good. Yeah, that's a great content. And again, as I keep saying, you guys are the leading content providers when it starts talking about blockchain, asset tokenization. You guys are the leaders, and you guys are the go-to in terms of when people start doing their research. And this is where I encourage people to learn and start at the STOmarket to be able to start your journey in researching when it comes to especially around real estate tokenization, given all what we're doing. But yeah, thank you for the introduction, Kyle. But you'll be probably a few more. Probably just on in terms, you've got the three areas of your business. You've got obviously the STOmarket. You've got the security token advisors, and you obviously got the STS, the show. You're involved, obviously, in all those. Probably just to distinguish between those three in terms of what their purpose is, just so to give people a bit of an insight in terms of the purpose of those three areas.
I'm sorry, you glitched out on my end a little bit there.
Yes,
yeah, ask me that.
Yeah. I was just saying in terms of the three areas of your business model, the SDO, the SDA, the advisory side, and then obviously the show, the STS, the show side. I think probably just sort of cover just briefly in terms of those three areas and the objectives in terms of those three areas.
Yeah. So it's actually a slightly different structure, actually, which is why it's fun to explain. So Security Token Group is our holdco. My co-founder Herwig and I built these three business verticals underneath the holdco Security Token Group. And those three verticals are STA, Security Token Advisors. As you said, that is the consulting side of the business. We work with a lot of different real estate firms here in Miami, as well as a lot of private equity firms and a lot of other regulators that want to understand how to leverage tokenization for their business models, whether they're an existing company, whether they're an asset owner, or whether they're a government looking to upgrade their state-sponsored exchanges and things like that. And so they work with us, and that's just a lot of manpower. We then have Security Token Market, STM. And with STM, as you mentioned, that's media and data. So we've got a lot of different media properties, including the Security Token Show, Spilling the NFT, which is our all-woman produced and all-women filmed show. They do an amazing job. We have Crypto con Leche, which is coming out soon, which is an all-Spanish show targeting a new audience, teaching them about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and security tokens, and a lot of other great content coming through the pipeline, OpenTab with John Pittman, and many other things that are also fantastic. So we've got all kinds of great media. Then we also do analyst reports and a lot of more paid research. And then finally, we have our data side of that second vertical, which is really about providing institutional level research for hedge funds, for investment firms, and for regulators. And then finally, we have our third business vertical, which is Security Token Capital, where we create our own financial products and are building our own special financing unit through that. So we've got our own kind of seed level funds and stuff that we're working on with some of our institutional partners and building up those types of things as well. So we've got three verticals there, and we've got a sprawling team. We've got probably 25 or so that are, a part of the greater team between, interns and collaborators to full-time team members. We've got everything across the board for those different verticals and really are looking to provide value in every step of the tokenization process, whether that's planning and bringing a product to market, whether that's driving adoption and liquidity from the buy side or anywhere in between.
That's fantastic. It's it's great to hear in terms of the ST Capital. Obviously, these guys are talking about, but actually he's also doing it now. So, which I'll drill into a bit later on that part of things. I was fortunate enough to actually co-speak with her on the DigiShares webinar around a couple of months ago. So we spoke on the topic and enjoyed hearing him. Obviously, DigiShares are the global leaders when it comes to creating platforms and maintaining platforms around property tokenization. So we're in a stable. Actually, Jake's also in the stable of DigiShares. So there's quite a few of us. Sen and Darren, who couldn't make it today, they're also doing their same thing with DigiShares. So again, it was great to hear Eric on that session that we had, that we co-spoke on that webinar. But yeah, look, in terms of we've got quite a diverse levels of knowledge around blockchain, specifically around real estate tokenization here for people that actually come in. And I always like to start with the beginnings around, somebody that just come in wanting to learn what is real estate tokenization. So I'll just give a bit of a basic overview of what is real estate tokenization. And I always go back to a very simple example. And some of us in the past have or thought about it in terms of going in and with, say, 4 other people and buying, say, a $1 million property. And we're all kicking in $200,000 each to make up the $1 million. And we don't get the banks involved. We just basically decided to, let's go in, great property, let's buy, that's the 5 of us buy that property. And we all chip in that $200,000, buy the property, we sell on the property, and then basically go on the journey and having that property rented out and picking up, obviously, the rent along the way. So, again, real estate tokenization is very much the same, but now you're actually talking about multiple partners in a property. Obviously, property is tokenized on the blockchain, and basically it's the same fundamentals. Rather than being 5 people, now you've got potentially 40,000 people, 100,000 people that have got tokens in that property. So property is divided up into various tokens to make up the funding that's required to purchase that property. And basically, you buy the property. Some models do go and borrow some funds as well as part of the fundraising to buy the property. But again, I guess in terms of, in my view, especially from a BRIK perspective, the problem we were trying to solve was actually to not borrow funds, because the clunkiness of the banking systems, doesn't matter whether you're in the US, Australia, or anywhere part of the world, there is still a very clunky banking system. So if you're trying to borrow money, if you don't fit in the box, you just don't borrow money to buy property. So again, a lot of models that like ours are basically avoiding getting the banks involved, and basically only accountable to yourselves as a token holders, and not accountable to any banks. So that just sort of gives you a bit of an overview for the people that are listening. What is real estate tokenization at a very simple model is basically just tokenizing a property into so many different tokens that you can actually have access and own, and have access in that property through that ownership on the blockchain. In terms of blockchains, there's quite various blockchains that actually can tokenize property. Ethereum was actually one of the first ones. 2019, there was the first real estate property tokenized on the Ethereum chain. DigiShares run on their platform, though, for their clients. They provide access to the Ethereum chain, the Ravencoin chain, and Binance. We tokenize our properties, BRIK properties, on the Ravencoin chain, which is a fork of the Bitcoin chain, and again provides all the bells and whistles that Bitcoin couldn't quite deliver when it comes to tokenizing, which Ravencoin chain can do. So, and there's various others out there as well in terms of and again, it just again from a tokenization perspective, property tokenization, we're very much guided by DigiShares, and no doubt, Jake, you're probably the same when it comes to the nuts and bolts in terms of the IT platforms and what's happening, right? From your perspective, Jake?
Yeah, I also currently about to be using the Ravencoin blockchain for tokenizing stuff through a different project. For Dwell Homes, that project is more going to be something that's coming from the future, or in the future. Did recently start the setup for the LLC that will be issuing the digital shares or the tokens from, so that's exciting. We are looking to use Ravencoin, though, mostly because we can create tokens without code, no need for smart contracts, and the security is unmatched. And the functionality is there for Ravencoin to support specific regulations that the SEC requires here in the U.S., the Securities and Exchange Commission. And that's going to help us be able to reach U.S. investors. There are other blockchains out there that you're able to build security tokens on, such as Ethereum. They're a little more costly. There's higher gas fees, but the functionality is there for them.
That's right. And I think the gas fees continues to be a major problem for the Ethereum chain. We also don't know what's happening there. From you, Kyle, in terms from your perspective, obviously you've got various, in terms of your audience that on the STOmarket, you're obviously quite a diverse. So what are you seeing in terms of, from a real estate perspective, what are you seeing in terms of people coming in, and what are some of the things they're saying as to what's changing their views in terms of being able to now look at new frontier of tokenized real estate?
Yeah, I think that it's consistently been by far and away the biggest use case that's gotten people excited about security tokens since I've really been in this industry. I think since 2017, it's been the one that's clear, solely because real estate's incredibly illiquid as it stands. Private real estate, private REITs and real estate funds are a disaster in a lot of ways. And public REITs are okay, but they're pretty inflexible due to the U.S. market structure, but also just due to the fact that they're usually not very sexy assets. So, I think that real estate's always been exciting. Now it seems more realistic. I think that a couple of years ago it was something that everybody said, "Oh yeah, this will be cool." Whereas now it seems like people are actually doing it, right? You've got guys like Jake that are just doing it. You've got ABC tokens that I just had them come by the office a couple weeks ago. They're just doing it, right? They've got a couple $1 million in real estate, and they're going to start creating tokenized assets. You've got Realty. Realty has done it with what is it, almost 200 properties now, single family properties. You've got Nolan Reynolds International just did it with their commercial property here in Miami. You've got St. Regis and Mira Park on T0. So I think you're really starting to see more real estate. We just need to drive more secondary market liquidity for some of these assets. We need to get more of them to secondary markets that we can keep having new assets to trade. I think that's potentially some of the feedback on the other side is a lot of people aren't seeing necessarily the newer assets coming to market. They're not seeing these opportunities quite as clearly yet. That definitely needs to be a focus on the industry is everybody can say they can do this stuff, but can we actually execute and get it done? And doing it the right way has been really important, and following securities laws and doing it in a way that we feel comfortable from a legal perspective, and not just shunning regulators and saying, "Oh, screw it, we'll do it our own way and they can't stop us," right? That tends to not be the best long-term strategy, in my opinion, especially for assets with which investors do need protections in order to have insurance behind. So, I think that we're really seeing an increase in interest, especially from operators, which is exciting. It now seems more feasible for people to actually try to start pulling these things off. And in my opinion, I think that from a chicken and egg problem perspective, I think the investors come with good assets as opposed to good assets coming with investors. So finding more high quality assets that are interested in driving forward technological progress, that are interested in innovating and in driving adoption of new technologies needs to be continued to be the key focus. And we're doing everything we can to help prove the viability of these assets and this technology during this process.
100%. And again, it's I think education awareness continues to be a major critical part in terms of bringing mainstream into real estate tokenization. And again, obviously, you guys are playing your part. We're trying to play our part through this various education avenues. When you start talking about in terms of compliance. And again, I always say you just got to make sure you go back to your respective jurisdictions, countries, state laws, when you start looking in terms of tokenizing real estate and look in terms of investing. Again, we started the journey 2 years ago. So for us, it was about making sure, firstly, we met all the compliance from an Australian perspective, because you're talking about different layers of legislation, what affects real estate property. And again, this is why real estate's been a very slow process, because there's so much regulation around it. Because, say, from an Australian perspective, we're talking about federal laws in terms of tax laws and capital gains from a capital gains perspective. Then we start talking about state laws in terms of stamp duty. When you buy a property, you've got a stamp duty element to it. Then you've got foreign ownership rules. And then you've also got our ASIC, which is equivalent to US's SEC laws.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got these various layers of legislation that they all intertwine with real estate property. And again, you just got to go back to your country, make sure you're ticking all the boxes. Because what our laws is in Australia, it'd be different laws what you guys got in the US, and even in states, at a state level, it's also different laws in some of the parts of it. So that is such a critical part. I think that's where you got to start first with the legislation. As token property platforms, and you're trying to tokenize real estate, that's really where you got to start first, and that's where we started. Looking at your own jurisdictions, ticking all the boxes first, and then you go to someone like DigiShares, or and yourselves in terms of the STA in terms of you, Kyle, to start looking at that next phase in terms of blockchain. What are the rules? And I guess for us was obviously DigiShares to what rules do we need to meet from a blockchain perspective. Again, ticking those boxes. So again, it's compliance is such a critical. We're so early. Some countries can't even give guidance in terms of whether you can and can't do. I know in Dubai, there was one of the webinars. I think it's actually the same webinar that Herwig spoke with me on. There was a gentleman there that in Dubai, and they can't give them guidance. So they can't really pull the trigger to do things because they know that if they pull the trigger, they could be in trouble because there's a certain aspect of it that they could actually be burnt in terms of what they're trying to achieve. But again, they're ready to go. But again, they just there's such a grey area over there, and the authorities just won't give them a black and white answer. So again, it's compliance such a critical part. And then we start talking about the secondary market. You touched on that. They call it secondary market. That's again such a critical part in terms of the next phase, that liquidity side of things. I know we've obviously with DigiShares, they're looking at setting up the real estate exchange secondary market. So I mean, from us who have got our own platforms with DigiShares, obviously we've got a secondary market within our platform. But the next phase is then obviously DigiShares creating a real estate exchange secondary market, which again provides extra liquidity. But again, our goal, as no doubt Jack's goal, is ultimately to get listed on the T0 secondary market. It provides obviously a lot more liquidity in going forward. So again, you mentioned the Mirror Park project, which is an multi-apartment sort of age independent living facility with I think they've got around 250 units, which is it's a commercial project that came out of the DigiShares stable. That was actually the first DigiShares client to list on T0. So again, they paved the way for us coming to get on the T0 platform as a secondary market. So you've covered a couple of things on that, didn't you, in terms of your show with the Mirror Park, I believe, in some of the things that are happening in that. But do you want to share some of those details just briefly in terms of from your perspective?
Yeah, so Mirror Park is the first property amongst many coming from the issuer. And so I know that with T0, T0 is the ATS. It's a licensed marketplace here in the United States, which is an ATS license is really like a broker-dealer license that's been upgraded to allow them to do secondary sales as opposed to a broker-dealer, which would facilitate primary sales. And so, with T0, I think the goal for them is to bring in large issuers that want to do, multi-asset issuances. And certainly T0 has taken a pretty institutional approach. They just got investment from the Intercontinental Exchange, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, and one of the executives from that team actually joined T0 as the CEO, David Goon. And so they're out here killing it, and Mirror Park is the new real estate asset listing on their platform. I'm interested to see how a month's trading volume looks before I can really comment on liquidity. I'm interested to compare them potentially between that and the St. Regis Aspen, to see if there's potentially a difference in appetite between the two assets, or potentially if adding more has driven more interest. And yeah, it's interesting to see. I think that bringing commercial real estate is valuable for the issuer. My only concern is just that I'm not sure how much retail audiences really care about commercial properties, just because the returns aren't really there, and then it's not the most intuitive investment because most retail investors don't interact with commercial real estate financing very often. But I think it's exciting. I think it's fun, and it's just a different way to drive liquidity in terms of driving more institutional adoption and a little more stability into the market and building a scalable solution so that hundreds of other real estate issuers can follow the same path. I think that's what it comes down to, is that CRE, commercial real estate, is similar in terms of different properties and different tenants, but similar in structure. That hope is that with more and more of these properties coming live, we can take that model and really scale it super effectively to unlock what is billions and trillions of dollars of underlying value in the market.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think T0, they've got 9 projects at the moment that are listed on there. So it's very early, obviously. Obviously, compared to other platforms like CryptoX Exchange or NXX, ATS, obviously a bit further ahead. But I think given, obviously, the latest, as you mentioned, with the owners of the New York Stock Exchange taking ownership in it, of T0, it really sets a huge pathway in terms of what's going to be happening. But I think it's around 9 now, Kyle. There's around 9 projects in there listed on T0 at this stage.
Are there any, what projects?
T0. In terms of projects listed on T0 at this stage, there's probably, 9 projects there?
Yeah, I think they've got 5. They've got T0,
5. Okay.
Overstock, Exodus, Mira Park, and the St. Regis Aspen.
Yeah.
And Curzio, so 6.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's all still very early, but great
very
future.
Very early. That's the interesting part is just how can we drive more of that adoption and build additional pipelines to encourage more issuers to do so, and that's I think always been the real challenge in this space, is that security tokens are, I don't want to say caught in the middle, but security tokens lie kind of in the middle between one side of the equation where you've got investment banks and the traditional financial system, which doesn't really want to embrace blockchain, doesn't want to embrace new business models or empower competitors. And then you have the other side, crypto, where security tokens are too compliant for crypto, right? A lot of crypto people want to just be anonymous, and they want to do whatever they go in whatever direction they prefer, and not quite comply with traditional securities laws or standards. And security tokens kind of lie right in the middle there, where we're trying to accomplish that compliance and the measures of following the rules the same way that the traditional market would, with this new age technology in perspective. And so I think that both worlds are colliding, and that this is the future. And our biggest challenge with security token market, and I think everybody in the greater ecosystem right now, is just figuring out how we can accelerate that adoption and reduce the barriers to entry for new players to come into the market, both in terms of infrastructure players as well as traditional asset issuers and investors that are looking to get invested.
That's 100%. It's I think it's you sort of hit it on the head when you talk about commercial property. I think commercial property sometimes lacks that emotional connection. It's just very sterile. Whereas I think residential, will play a big part of attracting people to tokenized property. Obviously, we're focusing around luxury properties, between the 2.5 and 3.5 mil. That's our niche here in terms of here in Australia, Southeast Queensland. And again, that brings emotion. People see it and they see the luxury, and they get emotionally engaged with the property. And I think that's going to be, in my view, I think a key driver to attract people to a T0 market, that they see these luxury properties and they become emotionally connected with that property. I think that's a huge way to achieve, I think, in terms of that mass adoption going forward. Jake?
Kyle, when you were talking about the chicken and the egg earlier, it really got me thinking, and I hear that a lot in this space, in this environment. Do the projects come first, or do the investors come first? And that is something that we won't know probably for, hopefully by the end of this year we will know. But you hit it on the head by saying great projects will bring investors, and it'll just flow from there. But I think one of the biggest challenges in this environment is actually making sure that people know that this environment even exists. I've been in I've been in real estate for a while now, and so has my father, and we didn't even know that property tokenization was an option. We didn't even know that it was viable, and I'm sure that as a supplier of the properties and of the livable homes and rental properties, and we don't even know about it, the tools that are available to be able to do this. Just a consumer, a retail investor, they're going to have a much harder time hearing about this when they may not even be exposed to real estate, whether it be commercial or private. So I think
the benefits are just it's not to be understated. Like, I think you make such a good point, but it's exciting when you think about how like you look at Mike Cagney, right? Mike Cagney started a company called Figure, and Figure does HELOCs, which is a home equity line of credit on chain. So they do fully tokenized HELOCs, and they've done about $750 million worth of HELOCs to date. It's really some of the largest blockchain-based securitizations that you're really going to see in the market. And Cagney's actually cited that he sees in his experience, it's been about 3 to 6% in efficiencies and savings that they've done just on the origination process of creating these debt products. And so when you think about 3 to 6%, I mean, let's call it 5, right? Like if you're doing billions of dollars worth of debt issuances, which is not even a conservative figure to consider, I mean, that's millions or tens of millions of dollars saved solely by leveraging these new technologies. And that doesn't account for all the value created by these technologies, including the advanced collateralization mechanisms, including the opportunities for new investment mechanisms, including the opportunities for bringing in new investors and new investor climates. So there's just so much opportunity there from the issuer side that, like, even if they're not necessarily investment vehicles that the general retail public would want to ravagely buy into, the financial opportunity for real estate issuers to structure their products in this way is something that just cannot be ignored by any broker, I think, moving forward. And it's really only going to be a matter of time, right? Once one of them does it, and once one of the largest brokers is able to offer the same terms at a fraction of the cost, or more likely similar costs with tremendously better terms than what you would be offered by a different firm, then every other one is going to have to match it in order to stay competitive.
Absolutely, yeah, and you were mentioning earlier all the companies that are hopping into this space. So it is only a matter of time, and I think we are in that matter of time. It's coming, and it's happening. It's going to explode, and people, if they want to be competitive, they gotta hop on board with it.
And the beauty about it, like, we're talking about a global access to anybody in terms of, you can be all corners of the world and having access to buy tokenized real estate. And I think that's a game changer. When we start talking about in terms of people building a portfolio of properties and the diversity across the world, that's a game changer, because I keep saying, like, some of the people I've been speaking in Africa, that they've been unbanked, and now they've got the new frontier, be able to, have access to blockchain, cryptos, just with a mobile, and be able to buy property, tokenized property. All you need is a mobile phone. So again, it is a new frontier, and I think when I get, it just warms my heart when I hear people's feedback, and they say, "What, you can actually buy property in Australia? They might be in the US, or they might be in Africa. They say, I can buy property in Australia." That there is a realization of the new frontier. And it was so early, and again, even people who are actually heavy investors in crypto, they themselves don't even know that you can actually buy tokenized property. So again, we forget about in terms of the people that don't know yet, just the people that know blockchain, that know crypto. Just that percentage alone is actually quite a huge market. Then we start talking about bringing into mainstream people into that know nothing about blockchain, and obviously educating in terms of new frontier of tokenized real estate. It's mind-boggling. It really sort of sets the tone in terms of where we're really going. And but it's exciting. It's exciting. I know sometimes I get a bit emotional talking about it, But again, I think we're all playing our part in terms of providing the tools and guidance, especially the people in developed countries and people in undeveloped in terms of developing countries and people also in developed countries that never had the access. We're playing that major role in terms of providing people with access to tokenized property that they have never had before. Just moving in terms of Kyle, before I open up the space, what I'd like to do is, can you just talk us about your project that you're tokenizing your own project, you and Herwig? You want to just talk us briefly about that? Because obviously you guys now are walking it as well. You're not just talking about it, you're actually walking it now as well.
Yeah, well, we found an opportunity and a regulation that we thought would be a really scalable model, because as I mentioned, part of the thing for us that we're trying to think about is, okay, how can we drive more adoption in this industry? How can we create more investment products that are going to be exciting, that are going to drive traffic and adoption? And the one that I keep going back to is actually, I don't know if anyone has seen the show called Super Pumped. It's written by the creators of Billions, but it's actually about Uber, right? And so the docuseries that details what's going on, how Uber grew from startup to a huge company. And I think that the interesting thing about Super Pumped is one of the earliest investors. His name is Jason Calacanis, and Calacanis put $25K into Uber, I think, in their Series A, and that turned into about $125 million or more now. That he was able to do with that, and that's such a good analogy, right? He's become a huge spokesperson for Uber, and that added so much fuel to the fire about investing in tech startups, right? Everybody invests in tech startups because you could put in a little bit of money and it could turn into something huge, which also sounds a whole lot like crypto, right? Where people bought $100 worth of Bitcoin back in 2015 or 2010 or whatever, and it becomes tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars with just small amounts. And so nobody cared about Bitcoin until that happened, right? Once Bitcoin hit that 20K mark, it was fully in the mainstream. And I was fortunate enough to be in this space before that. And I can speak from personal experience that nobody gave a crap about crypto until that happened. And so security tokens need similar flag bearers. There needs to be some really interesting assets that come to market that most importantly drive value back to investors and can really help justify the opportunity around a security token, which will also help drive liquidity to the markets. And so one of the ways that we saw there's a real opportunity is with regulation crowdfunding. So in the US, with regulation crowdfunding, retail investors can invest up to $5 million, or companies can raise up to $5 million from retail investors each year. And so we're actually going to be conducting a crowdfund for security token market. We've traditionally only had private financing, and we're going to be experimenting with doing a crowdfund of our own assets. So we're going to be doing a crowd safe note and going through that direction. And so it should be a lot of fun. And so we're moving forward in that direction. We're going to be working with Securitize to help us bring that to fruition. The value there is that they're a broker dealer. They also have their own ATS, which is cool for the future, but specifically the broker-dealer is the license that we need, because to do a crowdfund, you need to work with a licensed crowdfunding portal, and so it's great. And so we announced it through the Testing the Waters campaign, just where we're at right now, which is the process in which we can talk about the fundraise and the fact that we're going to be doing it. We haven't disclosed any terms. We haven't talked anything about the actual investment mechanism or anything there. And so all of that information will be available very soon. We're working through some compliance things that are out of my control. But we're in that process now. We've been blown away by the reception. We have a sign up on our website where you can just sign up for more information, put in some information around how much you'd be interested in potentially investing. And right now we've got over 1,000 people that have signed up with about $6.5 million worth of pledged capital. And so the reception's been fantastic. We cannot wait to bring this to market, not only because we want to help prove this concept, but because I think this is a mechanism that a lot of different companies are going to be able to take advantage of. This is super scalable, and the audit is certainly something that's a little bit inconvenient for issuers. But aside from that, this is a process that's pretty straightforward, and it's one that I think that many other companies are going to be able to take advantage of. This allows retail investors to buy into earlier stage companies as well as other types of investment vehicles. And, it creates a secondary market around these assets that have never been available before. And in my opinion, is maybe one of the main reasons why crowdfunding hasn't quite taken off. I don't think people want illiquid shares. They want to be able to trade it. And so we're really trying to help pioneer that and drive the value to the markets.
Oh, that's exciting, Carl. That's really exciting. I love the scalability. Yeah, and again, it's providing the tools for something that it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. I love it. So people can go on the website, is it, and then they can register for it. So look forward to having a look at that. Really exciting, mate. Thank you for sharing that with us. Look, in terms of what I'd like to do now is, again, just sort of pause and so just say hello to people who have actually joined. Tron, thank you for joining us. Paul, Sonny, Philly's in. Xander, hello. NXS, Good Find is in the house. Andy Bow, Jeff, thank you for joining. Bono, McLeod, Mitchell, Ike, Roy, Tony, John, Baraka, Victor, and a Korean friend of ours.
That Victor guy sounds like he's really good at soccer. I just have a feeling.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us. What I like to do is put Kyle in the hot seat with questions. So if you'd like to ask questions to Kyle or myself or Jake, but given that we've got Kyle here, let's take advantage and probe him. So if you do like to come in, and I can add you as a speaker, so you can ask us some questions. So again, just wait there. But while we wait for people to join, who we got here? So Tony, just adding as a speaker. We have also got some. We got some royalty in the house. We got Tron Black from one of the founders, lead developers of the Ravencoin chain. Thank you, Tron, for joining us. And I know I've just embarrassed Tron by calling him royalty. He doesn't see himself in that way at all, I can assure you. Yeah, Tony, how are you?
Hello. I was wondering what's the potential yield increase by doing a tokenized real estate as opposed to doing like a traditional one? What should the expected savings be that we pass on to the investors?
I think it's if you sort of go back in terms of what problem we're trying to solve in tokenizing property, the problem is in terms of, you probably experienced this, and we all experienced the clunkiness of the financial systems, the banking systems to borrow money. And again, for us is about taking the banks out of the picture. It's about basically providing the opportunity that we're all coming together, raising funds to buy a property, a luxury property in our case. And again, it's depending what model that's been it's been done by the property token platform providers. Obviously, the yields will be different from project to project. But if you start talking about in terms of yields, I think sometimes people get too much caught up with yields. And look, I'm an accountant myself. I've been an accountant, a CPA accountant for almost 30 years. So numbers is obviously critical to me. But I think sometimes people get too much caught up on yields. And for us here in Australia, when you talk about real estate property, it's always about the capital growth, not so much about the cash flow. And so, for example, this BRIK property at the moment, we see that property being sort of 3.5 times its value that it is now in 10 years' time. So again, when you start talking about yields, where are you going to get that sort of returns from? And again, look, if I can give you any sort of advice is don't get too much caught up on the yields, because the right project will give you the right yields in a tokenized asset perspective. It'll give you it'll give you better yields than traditional. We're talking about real estate property here, than traditional real estate property. Jake, Carl, you want to add to that?
Jake, if you have any thoughts, feel free to jump in. I also do, but I've been talking quite a bit.
I'll just say one thing. So in terms of, I like to think of passing on the fixed cost that we didn't have to pay for the infrastructure for issuing digital shares and issuing security tokens and property tokens, and just going through all the hoops and all the fees and all the middlemen to be able to to build infrastructure to be able to offer these kinds of investment opportunities for retail investors. Not having to pay for all that will help, increase yield. It is slightly. That's how I see it. That's what I've heard, and it makes a lot of sense for myself.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the other side of it too I've seen is that, Tony, I think you can probably offer much cheaper management fees too, right? Because a lot of the assets are programmatically managed that I can offer to, or I can afford to offer lower rates because it's less work for me, right? So, you could try to offer better than market rates on, call it mutual funds or passive investment funds. There's not going to be as much requirements for me to actually handle that manually. So I think that you may see better rates coming in from that perspective. But I mean, realty speaks for itself in the sense that they're offering double-digit returns on their properties, and that they're a unique case because of the type of assets they're using. You can't quite compare Section 8 to commercial real estate, for example. But if you were to compare those things, even though you can't quite, most commercial properties you're looking at like 3 to 5% versus 10 to 12%, right? So there's definitely somewhere in the middle. There is probably where the market will end up appearing, but I think you'd likely see, even that Mike Cagney figure of 3 to 6% on HELOCs is probably where you're looking at your range. In terms of where it's coming from, it's clearly the efficiencies, cutting out middlemen, programmatically enforcing these contracts, all those different pieces.
Nice. Philly, you got your hand up?
Yeah, thank you very much for having the space. They're getting better and more informative as we go. And the fact that you record it allows me to share it with a multitude of people. One of the challenges I have when I share these spaces is that I don't understand it, but people have a tough time relating property tokenization of real estate to other forms of property. So my question that I'm going to ask is more of a generalized question that'll help some other people wrap their head around it. I'm specifically talking to a group right now that does heavy equipment leasing, everything from little bobcats to giant cranes. And the conversations I was having with them is that I wouldn't, and this is where I'm looking to get correction from, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that they tokenize the future purchases of items, but if they wrapped up different portions of their equipment and property that they own, then they could basically tokenize that, take some money off the table, and use that for expansion. Specifically, they're looking right now, I guess fracking in the U.S., there's a lot of equipment basically being given away, and there's an ebb and flow to everything in industry. And sometimes people just can't store stuff or it's not worth it, so they offload it. And people that can capitalize on buying something dirt cheap and hold it for 3 to 5 years, there's a lot of money to be made. So if you guys could just speak to kind of how I'm guiding them, and so I can have them listen to this and get the expert opinion.
Okay, Carl, given that obviously you're across a lot of different businesses that are tokenizing, given the cold front of that, do you want to sort of speak to that? You've probably got more obviously exposure in terms of businesses that are tokenizing.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, so it depends on the asset size. The problem with early stage, or not early stage, but the problem with these newer technologies is that it just naturally attracts more risk capital than growth capital, right? Because if you had access to the traditional financial system, you probably don't look at a security token as your solution when it's risky, right? And there's a ton of benefits, as we've mentioned, but those benefits are only realized after you dedicate resources to explore them. And I think that for a lot of issuers and a lot of clients that we've worked with, they explore it for 6 months and then they say, liquidity's not quite there, so we're going to stay on the sidelines for a little while. And that's not necessarily justified, and in the sense that I wouldn't necessarily have agreed with them in those scenarios, and we often don't agree with them in those scenarios, but that does tend to be what we see from a lot of these larger issuers, because they have access to capital the normal way, right? So it's like, if I want to raise $300 million for my real estate portfolio, I know I can do it because I've done it 5 times already. I would rather just do it a 6th time in the same way, as opposed to trying this new method, failing, and then, really just making it kind of a disaster. So what we've been seeing is a lot of alternative assets. These are issuers that don't necessarily have access to capital in the same way. That also doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, that they don't have banking access, right? It's not like all of the companies that we see that begin to tokenize are startups or are, anything like that. It's just, it tends to be really innovative assets. We've worked with airline manufacturers that are creating parts and building, a tokenized ecosystem in order to have leasing contracts between their things. We've got, funds that own alcohol, liquor, whiskey, things like that. We have all kinds of commercial real estate that they're looking to offer tokenized options or collateralization methods that wouldn't technically be possible. So we're seeing a lot of different deal flow, but it is a long process for these issuers. And that's where the hope of helping to prove the method of even just doing a crowdfund where you don't have to do some crazy method of raising hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's just start with 5 million. Let's get it off the ground. Let's get fundraised. Let's get tokens onto the market and drive adoption of this space, as opposed to, letting perfect get in the way of good enough, where you try to raise a multi-$100 million raise. And, that's raising money is more difficult than most people think. And so I think that in a roundabout way that maybe only answers half of your question, but if you have any follow-ups around that stuff, that's kind of where it head's at right now, is that we're still kind of in a majority of that risk capital phase, where there's a lot of issuers that don't have necessarily access to capital any other way, that are turning to this to see if the solution works. And some of those will succeed. A lot of those will not succeed, right? Because a lot of people can see through risk capital. So it's kind of just a matter of bringing stronger assets to market and having a clear roadmap around how you're going to drive that adoption. And then finally, I think distribution is key. I think that a lot of people don't focus on the fact that, okay, just because the public can invest in your offering doesn't mean they will. You need to drive community. You need to drive culture. You need to disseminate this. You need to generally solicit. You need to work. Like people talk to us all the time about how great, the secure token market brand is, which we're very proud of. But it's taken us 4 years to do it. We have tweeted every single day, 5 to 10 times a day, about this industry. We have constantly created content. I think Herwig and I have skipped the Security Token Show. We've got 134 episodes now. I think we've missed 4 weeks over the last almost 3 years, Christmas and Thanksgiving. We have done this every single day. Jonah Schulman on the communication side has done an unbelievable job. He's done 50 weeks of the newsletter every single week with no exception. Peter Gaffney's written Tokenize This, and Sam Sachs has been doing Token Tuesday and market reports. And this stuff takes time, it takes effort. And I think that a lot of issuers just think I'll go to a fundraising platform, I'll work with whoever, and it's just going to magically make me have millions of dollars in my bank account. And that's just really not the right answer. You need to build a community around why these investment products are exciting and new and innovative, the same way that Ravencoin has done such a great job of that. That's not something that doesn't come without an immense effort from a large group of people. And I think that's something that's very underrated in the space still to this day.
Totally agree, Carl.
Thank you. That was a great answer, actually. And obviously, the real answer for follow-up is just to put them in direct contact with you. So I thank you.
I guess, Carl, that's obviously the security takers advise the SDA side of the business, as you mentioned earlier. I guess that becomes a sort of first point of contact in terms of when someone's looking at tokenizing an asset, 100%. Right? Yeah, fantastic.
Definitely right. Token advisors on Twitter, those are definitely the guys reach out to. You certainly can reach out to me too, and I'll help happily redirect you. The way that we see it is that most of the STA, the consultant side of the business, is really just education, because there's so much here, and unless you are fortunate like me to spend all day every day of the last 5 years of my life learning about blockchain technology and how it relates to securities laws, there's so much there that it's trust me when I tell you, not only is it we're not cheap in the sense that we only like to work with established and issuers that are really committed to this cause. But between the connections that we have to get better discounts, as well as the fact that I can get pretty much anybody in this industry on the phone within a day or two, it really helps transform this process from something that I think can seem very daunting and laborious into a process that actually helps complement your business model. Because if you can align your investors with your customers, it's a really game-changing process, and it really changes everything that we know about investing and everything we know about investor relations.
I totally agree. It's and again, these guys are the leaders in terms of, and again, when I have discussions, people looking at tokenizing real estate in other parts of the world. One of the content sources that I always include in providing that guidance is you guys at the STOmarket. So you need to start there, and a couple of other places that I try to go into, because again, as you said, you guys are passionate what you're doing, you're committed to what you're doing, and the content there is it's such a valuable content in different areas as well. And when you start talking about tokenizing assets, fantastic job you guys do. And again, we thank you for providing that content, because it's people are coming on. These guys are playing a huge part in terms of introducing new players to the blockchain, whether it be asset tokenization in general or real estate tokenization. So fantastic job. And do pass on our thank you also for Herwig and your co-founder in the STOmarket. Just try to wrap it up now. Just trying to keep it that 1 hour. Just to make sure there's no other questions to ask, especially Kyle, while we got him here. If there's not, we'll wrap it up. Kyle, do you want to sort of say anything before we finish? Before we wrap?
Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in, because I think that we're at the forefront of something massive. But unlike crypto, it doesn't move overnight. These markets take a long time to build, and thank you everybody for their patience. I've been in this space for a long time, and I know a lot of people that say why hasn't the mainstream adopted this or X, Y, or Z? That's not what this is about. We're really revolutionizing investment banking, which is an industry that we're following rules that existed 100 years ago. So this stuff doesn't change very fast, and yet we're making huge strides to drive equality for investment and financial opportunity for everyone around the world. So if there's anything that I can do to answer any questions, my DMs are open, so you can message me whenever, and I'll get to it when I can. And I certainly will try my best to respond to as much as I can. And stay in touch. Follow STOmarket for more casual, fun perspectives on how all this stuff is changing the world. And do your best to be positive and make the world a better place. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Look, I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate to have you on and sharing in terms of what's happening really much at the cold front in terms of what you guys are doing. And I really appreciate that. Probably just to, Jake, is there anything before I wrap it up in some of the things coming up to let people know? Jake, anything from you?
No, I'm grateful to be allowed to speak in this space in front of everyone. It's always good to instill some knowledge on some people about property tokenization, as well as hear from you and especially Kyle today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jake. So just a reminder, we just from a Raven Coin chain perspective, we've got our Braveland event, which is the Raven Coin campus. Braveland, Gems on the Beach, this Saturday, 3 p.m. US Eastern Standard Time. So you're more than welcome to join us, Kyle. I've actually reached out to the ladies, Token Girl and Megan to join us. You and Herwig and your colleagues are more than welcome to join. There's actually banners that I've put up, links in terms of software. It's a PC Mac driven platform, so more than welcome. So again, the objective of this monthly event that we're having on at Braveland is about to showcase the diversity of Raven Coin chain across, not just in terms of NFTs and property tokens, but across music that's happening. Philly's involved with a movie project with his daughter. We've got music and music artists that are minting on NFTs on the chain. We've got some wines there. We've got some mining. We've got Jake's mining project that's coming up. So just to showcase diversity, and We've also got our favourite music artist, SOS, who will be performing some of his new stuff there as well. He also mints music NFTs on the chain. And then at the end, we got some boat races. We got Xander, who's actually in the house here. He's our world metaverse boat champion. He's looking for challenges. No one's actually stepped up to the plate yet. I did say to Herwig, Kyle, that maybe he can join and challenge, given that Herwig obviously loves his boats. Maybe he could be a challenger to Xander at Braveland.
Hey, we love our yachts here in Miami. We certainly love getting on the water, that's for sure.
I was seeing him. That's what I said. But on a serious note, more than welcome to join. And so again, thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you so much all for joining us, and see you again next week. Take care, stay safe, and stay positive. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, y'all.
Bye-bye.